Don't believe it. That girl right there. I don't believe it. She's smiling, but she can't breathe. That's 14,000 feet up in the air from sea level she's at. That altitude getting the best of her, but she's faking it real good. And her knees hurt. And her knees hurting. Listen, this is me at Mount Bearstead in Colorado, my first 14er. And in a few weeks, the first week in August, me and 50,000 of my closest youth friends will be camping in Gillete, Wyoming. It's a Pathfinder Camporee. Every 4 years we have these Camporees, and this is going to be the one. Super exciting. Gillete, Wyoming is at altitude. Right now, we live in Raleigh, North Carolina. The altitude here is pretty close to sea level. It's 331 feet. And Gillete, Wyoming is 4,554 feet above sea level. And Denver, Colorado, will be flying into Denver. Denver is at 5,280 feet. It's called the Mile High City. So pretty much Gillete, Wyoming, maybe like a little shy of 1,000 feet below Colorado. Still altitude. You're leaving from pretty much flat lands by the sea and going up into the sky where the air is thin. I'm about to tell you all you need to know to get prepared for that trip. I know some of the Pathfinders will be coming from altitude themselves. No big deal, piece of cake to you, walk in the park. For the rest of us lowlanders, though, this one is for you. Okay, so what is the big deal about altitude? Well, the big deal is as you go further up, the air gets thinner, the oxygen is just not oxygenating up there. Your body fights real hard to gather oxygen from the air because, oxygen is important for all your muscles to work, for your body to function. And you could understand if your body is not able to pull in enough oxygen from the air, you can see how you can get sick real quickly. And that's the whole deal with going up to altitude. People that live there, their body acclimates in ways that they have more blood volume and different things that allow them to acclimate. You are going to be there for a week. You're not going to have time to develop new blood cells. So I'm going to give you some tips on what you can do right now to get ready and make sure that you don't get to feeling too bad when you're up there. Let's just start off with one thing. We are not going up very high. Yes. We're not going up very high. We're not even going a mile high. Well, for a brief time, we're going to be in Denver. But overall, Gillete is not a mile high up in the sky. As I said before, it's 4,554 feet, not quite a mile high, which is 5,280 feet will be considered a mile high. But most people will get altitude sickness. They say about 4,900 feet and above. Some people even say it needs to be over 8,000 feet. Either way, though, we're going up, and you may feel the change in your body. And some of the changes that people feel when they're at altitude, and these are the milder ones. You may feel more exhausted. You may have trouble sleeping, some nausea, dizziness, just dragging. These are some of the milder symptoms that you feel that you may expect to feel when you head to Gillete, Wyoming, which is not quite a mile high in the sky. Now, there's that more extreme version of altitude sickness, which I doubt many of us will really experience. But just for grins, I'm going to mention them to you. Of course, people can get headaches. Headaches can be one of the milder symptoms too. But people can get severe headaches. You can get severely dehydrated. this thing called lassitude, where you just like, I'm going to sit here. I can't move. Or you may get drowsiness and confusion, nausea, vomiting, lack of coordination. Those are things that tend to happen when you're going up into things like, in Peru, those big mountains up there that are high, or you're trying to do a 14er. That's not what we're doing here. We're doing a 4er, 4,000 feet. That's where we're going. And some of those symptoms that you may have, like I said, are just feeling a little bit more exhausted, a little bit trouble sleeping, or maybe a little bit more sleep. You may have trouble sleeping, or you may actually feel more sleepy. You may have nausea, dizziness, and headaches. Those are some of the milder symptoms. Now that we've pointed those out, what can you do about it? Well, while you're there, and I'm going to talk about what you can do about while you're there if you do feel sick, and then I'm going to talk about things that you can actually do right now, wherever you are, whether you're in Raleigh, whether you're in New Jersey, New York, all up and down the East Coast, where we're on the flatlands, or the other side where you're at sea level. I'm going to tell you some of the things that you can do to prepare for going up in altitude in Gillete, Wyoming. So make sure that we have a great time. So first, let's just talk about while you're there. Let's say you do feel that you're getting sick. You're not really adjusting to the altitude that much. Make sure that you're drinking plenty of water. The air in Gillete is going to be drier. Even though you're not pouring sweat off your body, sweat is evaporating from you. You're losing a lot of moisture. And you should drink about 2 times the amount of water that you will typically drink down here in the flatlands, in the sea, close to sea level lands. Make sure that you stay hydrated. Hydration is going to be one of the key things that cause people to just not feel themselves when they're at an altitude that they're not accustomed to. The next one is, and I should use my little numbers. Here we go. That was number 1. Hydration. Hydration is key. Number 2 is eat. When you're eating, you can make sure you're having well-balanced meal with fats and proteins. Carbohydrates tend to make you feel better at altitude. So make sure you have those carbohydrate-y foods, and those are things. This is not the time to cut carbs, okay? All you all people out there that want to cut carbs, this is not the time when you're at altitude. You can go ahead and have some carbs. These are things like rice and potatoes, sweet potatoes. This is not saying go out and have junk food. No, still stick to more conscious carbs, more carbs that have more nutritional value, but carbs nonetheless. Also, foods that are higher in potassium, and those are things like broccoli, banana, tomatoes, cantaloupe, avocados, dried fruit. They tend to be higher in potassium, and potassium can help with the sodium balance and how your body stays hydrated. Don't even worry about it. It's doing something good. Have high potassium foods when you're there, and it can help with preventing you from getting sick while you're there. As far as exercising goes, which is 3, don't just jump right in. I know in Gillete, we're going to have lots of tournaments and things. Don't just jump right in. Maybe take the first day to really acclimate to the campgrounds, acclimate to the place where you are. I'm sure everybody's going to want to hit the ground running. And if you're not just adjusting to that altitude very well, take a day. And I will throw that in. Let me tell you all. Years ago, we left from New Jersey and I'm going to tell you the story about when I went camping in Denver, in Colorado. But we went from New Jersey to Colorado. I was 13 years old. I didn't feel nothing. I was just so excited about being among all these kids from all around the world, Pathfinders. Oh, we are the Pathfinders strong. Just having myself a good time, that I don't recall feeling tired, sick, or nothing. Of course, youth is protective for a lot of things. And I suspect youth is going to be on your all side right now when you're heading to Gillette. So that being said, monitor your activity level. If you're noticing that you just can't go the way you used to, pull it back a little bit. Number 4, which I don't have to tell you all Pathfinders at all, don't drink. I'm sure Gillette is going to be an alcohol-free zone for Pathfinders. Alcohol for sure will make you feel worse at altitude. And number 5, really make sure that you're dressing in layers. This may not fully have to do with altitude per se, but if you're uncomfortable, it could even make you feel worse, adding to the fact that the altitude has you off. In Gillette, the temperature will get colder at night. This is almost like a desert type climate. Make sure you're dressing in layers and you're covered up, that in the night you can put something on as it gets chillier. And number 6, sun protection. Make sure you're protecting yourself from the sun. You are higher up there. You are closer to the Lord and closer to the sun when you're up there at altitude. Make sure that you're having some sort of protection on. As I mentioned before, that there with the heat there, you can be sweating and losing moisture and not even realizing it, just because it's more of a dry climate. Make sure that you're having some sort of sun protection when you're out there. And, there's not as many trees out in that side of the world, too. Sun protection, that can help you with, of course, if it's a hat, it can help you not lose as much moisture, but just protecting yourself from the sun and sunburn and other things that can further pull moisture away from your body. And those are the tips that I would recommend that you do when you're there to kind of prevent potentially from having any kind of altitude sickness. Now, let's say you did everything you didn't need to do, because those last few ones I mentioned, they're just like, they're not as high up there on the things that you have to do. The biggest one is hydration and eating well and monitoring your activity level. Those are the biggest ones. You do all of that, and then you get sick. Well, what you need to do is just rest. Rest and hydrate. That is going to be the key. And if you're noticing that you're nauseous, you're throwing up, you're having severe headaches, and it's just not getting better, then you must seek medical attention immediately. Of course, if you're not feeling well, tell one of your Pathfinder counselors, anybody that you're there that's monitoring you, that you're not feeling well, and they'll help you take care of it. Okay, last and not least, you are home right now. There are some things that you can do to make sure that you can be ready for Gillette, Wyoming. Exercise. Right now where you are, work on exercising, building up your cardiovascular strength, your cardiovascular capabilities. Make sure that you're able to keep up and practice running, walking, whatever you want to do right now to just work on your conditioning. Make sure that you're able to be physically active so that when you get to Gillette, Wyoming, it's not a shock to your system. Your body is more efficient at processing oxygen already. Right now, where you are, exercise. I recommend every single day until you get to Gillette, Wyoming on your camping trip. And then last, make sure that you're eating well, nourishing your body, sleeping well, to make sure that you're not exhausted, you're not malnourished when you're heading to Gillette, so that you can have a good, amazing time with over 50,000 of your closest friends. All right, if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. I'll be monitoring and hopefully we'll be able to answer all your questions about potentially altitude sickness. Of course, we didn't exhaust all the possibilities. in this video. It's starting the conversation, making sure you all know what you're about to get into, and making sure that you're prepared, because we are the Pathfinders strong. And I wish you all the best. Hopefully I'll see you all. Come find me out there in Gillette, Wyoming. Looking forward to it. Okay.